Wherever you are and whenever you are, welcome, good souls of the planet and beyond to Paranormal Now. I'm Alan B. Smith. Join us as we traverse the cosmic highway of paranormal portals and tantalizing turnoffs. Joining us tonight is the three-person team of Memphis Ghost Investigations and Spirit Rescue. Please share your thoughts and experiences with us during or after the show on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Paranormal Now Radio, on Twitter at paranormal_now, and of course join us in the KGRA chat room where you can pose your questions and join the conversation. But I do implore you to go in the meantime, later, tomorrow, whenever, to the Paranormal Now Paranormal Pop YouTube channel. We just dropped a new video on the 1969 Reed family UFO trifecta encounter in Sheffield, Massachusetts. It's 3 minutes long, and it's a continuing series that my goal is to do about 15 to 20 videos, and then we'll do more long-form documentary formats on each of these cases, or at least a select few of these cases. So if you'll go check it out on youtube.com/Paranormal Pop and leave your feedback, like, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. An important comment about the show a few weeks ago with Denny Hunt, a listener who will remain anonymous, expressed their concern with some of the comments made on the show and some of the topics of the conversation. And since I thought that they stated it quite concisely, I'll just read anonymously what they said for you now. And the message goes, first of all, thank you very much for the content you put out and your kind and thoughtful approach to all subject matters. I was just listening to this episode with Denny Hunt, and I found his take on certain things very disturbing, namely on the subject of addiction and recovery. I know that there is not just one way for people to get addiction help, but 12-step programs are free, available to all, and save lives every day. If it helps him to believe that he had a spirit attachment and that one simple prayer or healing session cured him, then congratulations. It is dangerous to suggest that other people should follow that, though. Maybe the AA meetings he had gone to never showed him a serious alcoholic, one for whom drinking is a life and death situation. Anyway, this is all not directed at you. It is about your guest. Thank you for reading and take care. So on occasion, we do discuss recovery and addiction on this show. It comes up often because our guests who have found their own spiritual path and write books and explore the metaphysics of life often are rooted in having an experience with addiction or some other psychological ailment or physiological ailment. And so I tried my best to make it clear that when a guest is coming on and sharing their suggestion and their idea and their program, whatever it works for them, that I am not promoting any one particular way. Because like in Alcoholics Anonymous or other 12-step programs, there are no absolutes, in the sense that there is no dogma like a religion. And you don't have to pay any fees. It's a donation, if you wish. And you can be any religion that you want. You can have any spiritual belief system that you want in most 12-step programs. So you do not have to subscribe to one person's ideology or system. And I think Denny Hunt is a very good-natured person, and I think that his intention is sincere, but I do think that this message sent to me makes some valid points. So it's just something to think about going forward. And I just want all of you listeners who listen to Paranormal Pop, if I have ever not made that clear, please feel free to call me out and message me, email me, because that's important. Because when you're dealing with the sanctity of life and how how slippery addiction can be, because it is a physical and psychological malady, if you will. Then we don't want to guide anybody in an irresponsible direction. So I'll leave it at that. Okay. So my guests tonight, I'm really excited. We haven't talked ghosts in a while. Are members of the Memphis Ghost Investigations and Spirit Rescue. They are Stephen Williams, a veteran clairsentient paranormal investigator and former member of the Ghost Stalkers of West Tennessee and the Memphis-Midsouth Ghost Hunters, who has been investigating and clearing haunted locations in Memphis across the U.S. since 2002. Some of his notable investigations include the infamous Screaming House in Union, Missouri, the first paranormal team to investigate there, and the St. Francis Inn and the St. Augustine Lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida. Kayla Bayles is a gifted clairvoyant, clairaudient, spiritual rescue medium, experienced in spirit communication since childhood. Kayla is naturally gifted with the ability to see and hear spirit energies. Child spirits are particularly drawn to Kayla's youthful, compassionate energy. Jennifer Brooks is a gifted empathic clairvoyant and clairaudient spiritual rescue medium experienced in spirit communication since childhood. Jennifer has been blessed with the ability to see and hear spirit energies since she was a young child and has always felt an intense pull to help lost souls find love and peace. Memphis Ghost Investigators, welcome all.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to Paranormal Now.
We're excited.
Stephen, I want to start with you, and then Kayla and Jennifer will pose the same question. Stephen, how the heck did you get interested in investigating ghosts in the first place?
Well, I was in St. Augustine, Florida on a family vacation in 2002, and I took one of the little ghost tours and took a couple of photos that I wasn't understanding what I was seeing in the photos. And so when I got back to Memphis from that vacation, there were two ladies here in this area that had a website up, and I sent the photos to them, and they debunked it. But it intrigued me, and I started going out into different areas and read a little bit about it on the internet, and took some equipment with me, and finally I recorded an EVP, and I was just floored by that. And then I would send these things to these two ladies, and they would kept encouraging me to go with them. And so we started going to people's homes, and that's how it started for me.
Was there any personal connection to ghosts or spirits in the afterlife? Anything like that drew you in order to find out more?
No, I really had not had any experiences during my childhood that were significant, but I was always interested in the subject. And so when I became really interested in it was right before Ghost Hunters made it onto sci-fi. So there really wasn't anything going on in any kind of media at that point, and it was hard to get any information about it. So it was just an intriguing thing to me, and I happened to find these two ladies, and they needed some help, and it just kind of ballooned from there.
All right. And I just want to let everybody know who's listening tonight that tonight is officially the first night we're doing the video streaming simultaneously, and you guys just popped up on my screen, so now I can see you all. So hello. Up until now, your voices. So hey. So Kayla, tell us about yourself and how you got involved.
Mine's kind of a long story. So my family's originally from Louisiana, and the house I grew up in here in Memphis had two entities in it. So I grew up with them around me, and my mom, and I have four sisters, are all sensitive and gifted in a sense. So I grew up with my mother telling me, oh, that's just the man in the hallway, or there's a cat spirit in that room. So it was kind of just normalized for me, and I didn't necessarily know it wasn't normal until I got a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you think that?
Yeah.
Do you think that it being normal helped you develop it or retain it?
I think it helped me develop it. I always had a strong sense of self and was very adamant about stuff without knowing why. It was just very natural to me.
Okay. All right. And Jennifer, what about yourself?
Mine's kind of interesting. I started seeing spirit around that I can remember around 3 or 4. But my dad passed when I was 7, and he actually would come and sit on the bed and talk to me after he passed. So mine was super personal. And I kept telling my mom, hey, my dad is telling me all these stories. And she's like, we never told you those stories. And I'm like, but he's telling me, So it was very comforting to me. And then I met these guys and started going on, I guess, rescues.
Yeah. We'll get more into the rescue aspect of it. There is someone in my life who, when they were younger, had either heard or seen people in their mind that had passed away. And when flipping through pictures, family pictures, just as a little person, just said, hey, I know those people, and there's the family said, there's no way you could possibly know who these people are. There's only a couple pictures of them. This is the first time we're showing this to you. So is that what it's like for you? Do you feel like you can see, like literally see, spirits and imagery?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on the situation. When I was little, I definitely saw my dad like right in front of me, like 3D. And sometimes I do see spirit 3D, but sometimes it is in the mind's eye. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what is a rescue?
A rescue is when we are called into someone's home to do an investigation, but we do not go in like majority of groups that are doing this type of work. We don't go in and spend all the time looking for evidence. What we want to do is connect. If there are spirits there in the home or the business, the public site, we want to connect with them and actually allow them to have an opportunity to tell their story. And then we do some counseling. It's really a lot of psychology involved in it because they're the same personalities and memories and everything they had when they were alive. So if you can kind of tap into that and kind of help them focus so that they're able to work out some issues that were holding them here, so to speak. And then we actually kind of create a bridge for them to cross into the next level of existence. So that's the work that we're very passionate about.
Who are you rescuing? The people living there or the entity itself? The
spirit person that's there or persons. There's usually, what we found is there's almost always more than one. And so it's a multi-level thing though, because not only are we helping those individuals who are in a spirit form to transition to the next level, but it's also very helpful to the homeowners. They're living in a state of fear or confusion, and they just don't know what their life is going to be like from day to day. So it restores a sense of peace in their life too, while helping the others to make that transition. So it's very multi-level.
Yes, and you must have a sense of responsibility, because it must be possible that you walk into a home and there's not a ghost, that there's something else happening there. Are you able to determine that before you even decide to investigate, or do you ever find yourself in a situation where you think that, and you know that because you can't feel it, that there's no ghost here, that something else is going on, perhaps psychologically with the person?
Yes, that's the case sometimes, and these two are able to actually work remotely, and almost to a certain extent, them a lot more than I can. But they can even get on a phone call with someone and read the energy through that connection, or look at a photograph and get a good idea of what's going on there. So there are people that seek attention, and there's really not the extreme thing going on that they think is happening there. So
Well, sure. Some people seek attention, but others might be more delusional, right? I mean, isn't
That's true.
Science has shown us that there are scientific explanations for a lot of these sort of happenings. So, in one person's mind eye, they're sane, and another person, their brain is literally conjuring something up. So true. For me, that's always a concern, is that something is misdiagnosed.
Well, that could happen if the gifts are not there to where you're able to discern what's actually going on, if you're not able to read the energy correctly. And there have been there was a recent case that I worked on. They weren't able to go with me, and I went to another city, and the lady was sleeping basically in a very high level EMF field. So it was causing some confusion with her, and she was seeing some things that weren't really there, but there were some energies there. But it was just kind of like she was conjuring up some of herself, I guess you'd say.
Sure. I guess that's the benefit of having a team, right? Because you can sort of cross-reference each other.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we validate each other all the time, which is,
right. Well, what if one of you is like, nope. Nothing's happening here. Does that ever occur?
Not really. So I know for our website, he has a questionnaire. So most of the time people have to fill out a form of what's going on. So we're able to kind of review them that way in a sense. Luckily, most of the people, though, that contact us, there's actual activity. But we do usually have a sense of if it's genuine or not.
Right. What was the first case that all three of you worked on together?
Which one? We've done so many.
That was that Cordova house.
Yes, it had so many spirits.
Yeah. Kayla and I started working together back in October of last year. And then Jennifer joined us in April of last year. But we all went to a house that it was just a regular subdivision house. And we had no idea that we would find so much energy in this house. But the young woman was very intuitive, and we feel like she was drawing a lot of this energy to her. So they had just followed her in a sense. Yeah. So that was quite unusual.
And so things ended well after that, or?
Did. Mm-hmm. So we went to the house, and it's interesting because, it's not necessarily people, like for the spirits that may be residing there aren't necessarily people that used to live there or grew up in that area. Sometimes we have what we call drifters, or they just follow people, or they are attached to that property or an object. Sometimes with antique items, they'll follow certain things. A lot of times furniture. There was a guy there that he wanted to cross over, but he didn't know if they had beer in heaven. Oh, yeah. And he wanted to have an endless tap. And then he goes, "Can I bring my horse too?" And I said, "You sure can." So it's really interesting.
How do you know that there's beer in heaven? Or isn't there?
What was that?
Do we know, is there beer in heaven?
I think that there's a lot of different perspectives of whatever it is, whether you call it the universe, heaven, going back into the energy field.
Have you seen the movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you seen the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
Yes, I love that movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how I imagine if there truly is a heaven, like an actual kind of place out there. That's what it would be like. You sort of bring with you your own incarnation of what heaven is, and that's sort of the reality you live in.
You create your own reality. We understand it. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Stephen, do you think that's the case?
I do, and that's why when we talk with these spirits and get a conversation going on, you find out what their passions are and what was important to them in this lifetime. So if you can direct them towards that idea that they can have that same thing, and even better, and create a reality that's beyond their wildest imagination, they're always ready to let go of this existence here.
So Kayla, when you're communing with a spirit, And you said they speak to you. Are you hearing a voice, or is it something else?
I hear it in my mind more than anything. A lot of it's telepathic. I will speak out loud now because it's easier for them to communicate back with me. It's easier for them to hear me if I just vocalize myself.
Sure.
And it's easier for me to communicate with them that way. But mostly it's almost like seeing sentences in my mind's eye or just knowing what they're telling me.
Okay. All right. And so, Stephen, what does it feel like for you?
Me, I'm clairsentient, so I can feel their energy. In fact, when Jennifer came over tonight, she brought someone with her. It was a male, and for me, it's kind of like the way I can describe it is like a tingling that's if I feel it on the right side of my crown chakra area, it's masculine. If I feel it higher, it's someone who's crossed over. If I feel it lower, it's someone what we call earthbound, and the other side's feminine. So when this particular energy came in with her, I could tell immediately it was masculine. Now, sometimes if I really focus in the situations right, I can hear some of their thoughts too.
Okay, there's a lot of ground to cover, and we have many stories to discuss as well. So, Jennifer, we'll have to ask you about who the heck you brought with you tonight, and are they hanging out with us right now? This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio. We are live, and for the first time ever, including video. So I will update you with more information about how you can see this when it is ready. In the meantime, we'll take this quick break, and we'll come back on the other side with so much more. Alan B. Smith, hang in there. We will be right back.
Podcast on iTunes, iHeart, and Spotify. KGRARadio.com. This is Paranormal Now.
The signs keep on coming, they point to the end, but I hold on so tight. Back and forth.
Welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith, your grateful host, and tonight we are talking with the team of Memphis Ghost Investigations and Spirit Rescue. Okay, so Jennifer, I want to bring this question to you. Did you brought an actual spirit with you, or did it follow you to the house?
I did. He actually came with me. Actually, during the break, I was tuning in, trying to figure out who it was.
Yeah.
And I did ask, before I came for, to be helped during the interview and for us to all be helped, for spirit to help us. And it's actually my grandfather on my dad's side that came with me tonight.
Oh, okay. And what would be the motivation for that?
A lot of times our ancestors will come in just to help raise the vibration or to just help us, or sometimes they're interested. He passed a very long time ago. I actually only met him twice in my whole life. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a few minutes to discern who he was and to figure out his energy. And then once he showed me a picture of what he looked like, then I was like, oh my gosh, I know who that is. So I feel like he just came in to see, what's going on and what are we doing? This is probably new to him.
Yeah. So this would not have typically been one of his topics of conversation, the paranormal, or
no, not at all.
You know what? I want to ask you guys: do you ever, find yourself in a situation just having a casual conversation at work or wherever, and it kind of just pops out that this is what you do, and do you ever feel like moments of awkwardness, or do you really sort of embrace who you are and what you do?
I embrace it. I don't mind. I usually have a good feel too. So, if it comes out naturally, I believe it was for a reason. So I've grown since I've met Steven, especially, and started doing this work with them. I have a lot of support and I feel very confident in it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great that you feel that way. And what about yourself, Jennifer?
I'll be honest, when I first started, I was very nervous about it. But working with Kayla and Steven and really, starting to hone my gifts and really practicing, they gave me a lot of confidence. And like Kayla said, now we can kind of discern, how people talk about it. And a lot of times Spirit will just give us a nudge to just blurt it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really comfortable for me now.
And Steven?
Yeah, I'm careful about how I bring it up. We live in the Bible Belt down here, so there's a lot of narrow-mindedness about this subject, and you have to kind of be careful, especially when you're in a professional work situation, how much of this you bring up. But I'm always asking Spirit to bring people to me that need this kind of connection, and I've been blessed to help a lot of people, recommend books to them when they kind of awaken to this spiritually and they're searching. And I'm always listening for an invitation from the person to talk about this. And a lot of times they'll just mention something casually that gives me an in, and then I'm all about
it. I think that there is something to be said about taking sort of not a pride, but being comfortable in your own skin with the paranormal, because when you compare it to, and that's the irony, I think, of what you just said, when you compare it to religions, you and I, in any conversation, doesn't matter where you work for the most part, like 99% of the time, I could tell you I'm whatever religion, right? Which means I believe in whatever story and mythology that comes along with that, which includes paranormal activity, magic, strange creatures and beasts, off-world encounters. And yet, if you at least entertain these more speculative ideas in the paranormal world or metaphysics, then somehow you're the crazy one.
Yeah. It's true.
I always thought that was unfair.
We agree.
Yeah, we definitely
unless you are the crazy one, then that's fair enough. But you guys definitely don't seem like that. You seem like you are sincere about what you're saying and what you're doing. Do you think that going out there and investigating and doing spirit rescue, that you are making a difference in people's lives?
Absolutely.
Oh yes, yeah. There's so many of our clients that are just terrified, and their day-to-day life is just upside down, and they're frightened. Their children are being affected. You can't see any of this. So when there's someone there in spirit and they're able to manipulate energy and levitate objects and push and throw things, it's terrifying. It just creates such havoc in their lives. So yeah, we bring a lot of peace to our clients to be able to explain that. And I will say this, our work is very successful. We were actually contacted by a couple of the new shows that are out there right now. And I thought it over and thought, well, it'd be some great exposure, but when we go to a place, we take care of business, so there's really no one there. You couldn't go back and do any work there because, we do the clearing of the home and we help whoever's there cross over. So that's our goal. It's up to them. Now, sometimes they take a little while to make that decision to leave, but at least they know that they can. So that's our goal.
If you were approached by a production company, let's say, to do a program on investigations, aren't you afraid that they would ask you to sort of be directed and behave in certain ways that makes the program more entertaining, but is not authentic to the actual work that you do. Because sometimes I really do get the sense that people who have good intentions get caught up in a production, and they feel obligated, like they have to sort of go along with the direction of the director or producer, and it's not necessarily how they would normally do their work.
Yeah, I think we worry about that a lot. I mean, I do personally. I would have to have complete creative control because I'm not going to go back and replay a scene. You get it the first time. I'm communicating. I can't just sit there and go back or act out something that didn't happen. That, to me, that's not authentic. That's not me. And I'm pretty sure that, y'all agree with me. It's just not who we are. And we're there to help spirit, and we're there to help the homeowner. The other stuff is just,
Now
what it is.
That does happen because I have a good friend who lives in Jacksonville, Florida, who's a very fantastic medium. And she actually worked on one of the shows one time. Yeah. And they did ask her to go back and recreate, and she just would not do it, so she left. So I'm sure a lot of that goes on.
Good for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation where someone was trying to sell their home, but they were afraid that they'd be passing a spirit on to the next person and asking you to cleanse it?
I don't think we ever run across that particular situation.
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Usually people want their home peaceful. They want to stay in the home. I've been doing this for almost 18 years now, and I have been in some homes that were real extreme. Those were homes where people had done spellcraft and got into occult stuff, and they invited in some really what people would call negative energies or dark energies. So they, sometimes they will leave those situations, but no, I don't think we've ever had anybody.
Okay. Well, I ask because you have the situations where people buy a home and then they find out the hard way that there was something living in there, which is to say that the previous owner didn't do the work to not just warn them, but even try to, get rid of it. Yeah.
I'm sure that goes on a lot. So.
It definitely happens. I'll be honest. When I was younger, before I really started to embrace my gifts, we went to look at a house, my husband and I, to buy, and there was a spirit upstairs. And I ran out of the house. I'm like, nope, not this house. So apparently they didn't clear their house before they left or take you with them.
We actually had one house with that little girl. And they were telling us that the landlord was actually so freaked out to the point that to get their rent, they wouldn't even go to pick it up or do any of the housework if they needed something fixed inside. He would send someone else to do it because he could feel an energy in there and it scared him.
Yeah.
Oh, and what about the little girl?
She was actually a little girl who's really gifted, and a lot of spirits were being attracted to her. So in a sense, she was like a flame, and the spirits were like moths. She's a beautiful, bright, happy energy, and she's sensitive and can see them, so they would come to her. So we helped her with that and not being scared.
Not being scared, but is she there perpetually, or like for the rest of her life, having to worry about this sort of thing?
Well, I've dealt with a lot of families that have young children, and it's usually female children for some reason. But my advice is to them is to always to try to help them defocus the child from that gift at this point in their life, so they can be children, and then they can always come back to it later. So a lot of times, though, the family gets caught up in it. One of the parents gets caught up in it, and it's just like a vicious cycle. The child is telling them what's going on, and they're feeding into it, and they get all upset about it. But it can be controlled. It really can.
Personally, what I usually suggest is to just help them understand and teach them about it, and to be educated on it, so they kind of know what's going on, and that it's at a moderate level and not to the point where it's distracting them or causing issues in the home.
Yeah, and I think one of our goals for Kayla and I is because we've seen children and seen spirits since we were children, we really try to teach the children and the family's boundaries. You know, it's all free will. So you can tell spirit, look, you know, I'm doing my homework, not now, or this or that. So we really try to teach the children boundaries and give them a sense of control, because they really do have control.
But if you're open to, like yourselves, if you're open to spirits in the other world, will you always attract them? Is that just inevitable? Even if you use techniques to like sort of protect yourself from, you know, evil energies and whatnot?
For me personally, a lot of them leave me alone. But what I do when I visualize, and I was taught this by my spirit guide, is I don't even care for the color pink, but I have like this pink bubble around me and a sign above my head that will say open or closed, you know, or busy. That way, anyone else who's around in spirit that sees, they'll understand to not interfere with me because I'm focused, or I'm just not doing that right now, because I have to respect my energy too. Just because I'm able to do these things doesn't mean that I have to or need to all the time.
Yeah, and I actually close down. I mean, it's too much for me to just walk everywhere and just have spirit bombarding me all the time. I have business hours, so I tell them from this time to this time. You know, if someone comes to me during the day and I'm, you know, working at, you know, my other job or doing this, you know, your regular mundane things, you know, I'll tell them, hey, come back during this time, and they always do. I've never had them not come back. So,
well, that's interesting. So, is there a difference between a spirit and a ghost? Like something that lingers and something that moves on?
No, for me, it's more of a respect thing because, you know, we're souls, we're spirits. We're just spirits in the flesh. So I feel like, in a sense, I'm disrespecting them or dehumanizing them in a way when I say ghost. You know, that's not something someone takes seriously, or it's not looked at positively.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, we all come at the situation as they are souls, and we come in with compassion. So we don't think of them as separate or ghost or a thing. It's a person, a she, a he, or their name, or that sort of thing.
But many times we'll go into homes and they will say, it's doing this or it did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we just have to remind them, no, it's a person. You know, they live, they had a life, they've got personality. Yeah.
And ghosts have feelings too.
Respect.
So some people think that ghosts are residual energies and not really like a spirit in and of itself, and that it's something that plays as a loop feedback.
We have encountered that in a house in what's called Midtown Memphis. There was a little boy at a piano. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he was like kind of there was like a little time slip going on there. He was going to the piano and sitting down.
Not the piano.
But he wasn't really there in an intelligent sense. It was kind of like an imprint.
Yeah, it's like a memory just sitting there that we could see, but we could feel that there was an actual soul there.
So okay, so an imprint.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a connection between the imprint and the soul itself?
Yeah, I mean, because the only thing that we really take with us is our memory. So, you know, everything's energy. So say you walk into a restaurant and you walk in and you go, ooh, this feels weird. Well, someone probably just had an argument before they came in. So you're feeling that energy. And if you're sensitive to that energy, then you could feel them, maybe that argument or the disagreement or something like that. So it's all energy.
Do you ever employ tech like a spirit box?
No.
Don't like them.
And why don't you like them?
Don't need them.
It's like, well, they're not very necessary.
Here's the thing. When I first started out, I was equipment heavy. I took a lot of equipment. Now I take one EMF meter just to check and see if there's some kind of EMF field that's causing any kind of problems there. Mm-hmm. And mostly I will give it to the homeowner so they feel like they're involved in the investigation. But we don't need that. So if you were spirit in a place, are you going to take the path of least resistance? Of course. So they're not going to waste their energy trying to make something light up or make a voice when they can talk to us, just through thought form.
Right. Have you seen the Hellier series?
No.
The what?
The Hellier series.
No.
It's an interesting series where they're documenting their own investigations, and it's very, very tech heavy. Intuition is employed, of course, but so basically, you're saying that you have a sort of a direct line, and it's clear enough that you don't need these additional tools.
We are the spirit boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we do is when we go into a home or business or public site, I know a little bit about what's going on because I'm the liaison between the clients. So I get a little bit of information. I never tell Jennifer or Kayla anything. They go in absolutely cold. So as soon as they walk in, we sit down. I talk to the client a little while, and they've got their notebooks out. They're already making connections and writing down what they're seeing and hearing. And at the end, we'll present this to the client, and it's almost always validated. It's the same experiences they've had, or it's a relative. A lot of times it's mediumship here. It's a crossed over relative that wants to get a message to the homeowner. So like I said, it's very multi-level. We go in and help the earthbound spirits, but someone in their family who's already crossed over might want to speak to the homeowner and deliver a really important message because they have a wider perspective of what's going on.
In businesses, how does that work? Because I wonder if a spirit is haunting, I guess, for lack of a better word, you can correct me if you use a different term, a business space. Do you have a multitude of witnesses experiencing it, or is it usually just one person or two people, or how does that play out?
We went to a bar. We got invited to go and investigate a bar down in downtown Memphis on South Main Street. It's called the Green Beetle, and there's some footage on our website. But there was a spirit lady down there, a young lady that was throwing wine glasses, and that was witnessed by multiple people. And other people would go in and she would touch them on the shoulder and that type of thing. So as soon as we went in there, Jennifer saw that. She said, "Oh, she's touching that guy on the shoulder." So everything that we witnessed there, and we're able to bring that information to the business owners, they could validate everything.
Okay, so when we get back on the other side of this second break, I do want to ask you guys, what abilities do spirits have? How can they manifest physically? And I've always wondered, are they able to jump sort of near instantaneously, since they are an energy, from one place to another around the earth? Or because you and I, we are talking using electricity and energy and data, and it's near instantaneous. And so if these beings are non-corporeal, then perhaps they have some amazing abilities as well. So we're going to go into the second break now. Hang in, everyone. This is getting really interesting. And we have more stories to discuss on the other side. Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio. We'll be right back.
Perception of reality.
You guys are the best. Yeah.
KGRARadio.com.
Welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith. It is a haunting night, and I'm really, really glad that we have these three guests on tonight because we have a whole lot of wisdom in one connection. And so we'll go through our questions and stories as the night goes on. As a friendly reminder, taking us out of the break was music by Septembrio. If you want to find out more about Septembrio, go to Septembrio with a Y, septembrio.com. And that song was My Own Light. Race and I have talked a lot. I think our favorite song by Septembrio is January Waits so far, but they have a bunch of other songs that if you continue to listen to this program, you will catch them during all of our breaks. All right, so we are in the second hour. And what does that mean? That means in the last half an hour, we will open up the phone lines for the Paranormal Radio app hotline. So that number is 855-472-5483. Again, the Paranormal Radio app hotline is 85-KGRA live. So call in to pose your questions. Listen to my cue. We will connect you and just be respectful on the air, and we'll get you in connection with the guest, and you can ask anything that you want for the most part. So I know that we're all just really, really curious about the afterlife. I think that's just built into human nature. So I'm curious to see what your questions are. My question for the Memphis Ghost Investigations and Spirit Rescue crew tonight is, can ghosts jump from location to location near instantaneously? Or spirits, rather.
Their energy, of course they can.
Yeah. I mean, if you think of your loved one, 9 times out of 10, as soon as you think of them, their energy's next to you.
Okay, so you can be in New Zealand, and a spirit that maybe lingers in a home in Tennessee could theoretically be called to you if you thought of them, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we've all done some type of remote rescues before, and I've called, say, Oklahoma before, and I was able to connect with spirits that were there. So they basically came to me so I could hear them and see them.
So it's almost like a cord, an energetic cord, if you can imagine that's established.
So you can actually commune with them, and can you help resolve a problem from a distance?
Yes.
Sure. Why not?
And so what are you asking them when you're speaking with them?
Well, it's really no different than when you're in a home. I mean, we ask them, why are you here? Can you show us, your last memory, your age? Basically we just ask them to they really just want to tell their story.
We're kind of like spirit social services in a sense, I guess.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So we'll go in and, if we pick up a spirit or entity that's there, usually I'll see whatever I get from them, kind of what they look like, if they have any injuries, what they remember, what it is they're looking for, if they know they can cross over, their options, that they're not alone, just stuff like that.
Right. So it seems like some of these spirits are confused.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
How does that happen? Because one always imagines that when you pass away, that's when you'll get the answers, right?
No, I think their memory is a lot of times is of that last moment. We were in a house one time. There was a young girl that was hiding in the closet, and she kept talking about the smoke. So when she died from probably smoke inhalation, that's the last memory she had, and she was stuck in a loop, so to speak, where that was all she could think of. And no, you don't become enlightened, believe me.
No.
These people that they're angry when they die, they're angry in spirit form too.
A lot of people, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
A lot of people who passed traumatically and stuff sometimes will be stuck in that moment or not realize that they had passed. They think they're still there and that's still happening.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes they're stuck in that until someone like us comes along, or who knows, whatever else, an angel, another spirit. It could be anything, really.
So that is different than an entity stuck in a ghost impression? Or because when you say loop, are those two different things?
Yes. So residual energy is usually when a scene or something happens and that energy kind of imprints into the ground or that spot, wherever it may be, and keeps happening. Now, a spirit who has had a traumatic death or so, or doesn't realize the past, will kind of be stuck in their last moment, because that's all they remember. So they're reliving that energy constantly, that memory pattern in a sense.
So can you release a ghost or that's an impression that's a loop? Can you do anything for that, or is it kind of just stuck there?
You don't have to do that. That's just that's almost like a movie that's playing that's going to eventually fade out.
For the residual energy.
The residual.
If you're talking about the spirit who's had a traumatic passing and isn't aware that they're reliving their death in the afterlife, in a sense, so we can help them. It's almost like waking someone up from a dream, in a sense.
Yeah.
So the residual, it's not necessarily doing any harm then.
No,
it's just lingering energy, just like smoke lingers in a room. It's kind of the same concept. That just lingers in that spot.
But people will see that and will be frightening to them. The true test of that is whether or not the spirit turns and looks. Because if they're looking forward and they're just going about their business, it's just almost like a replaying movie.
Right. And I would imagine that this earth is just speckled with these sort of residuals, right?
You bet.
Yeah. Battlefields, especially, places where there's been large-scale destruction of human life, yeah.
Yeah, very old hotels.
Have you, as a team, have you been to any battlefields?
I've been to many, but they haven't. Mm-mm. Not as a team, we haven't gone yet.
What's that feel like when you go?
Probably the most impressive one for me was Andersonville down in Georgia, because we had a spirit. I was working with another medium at the time, and we had a spirit who came to us, a young soldier, and when we counseled him and he started to make the transition, a whole group lined up behind him, so that was very emotional to witness that.
Mm-hmm.
A whole group
Behind him? What do you mean?
Just his fellow soldiers fell in line with him.
Wow.
There, yeah, because in my experience, what happens a lot of times is these career soldiers are the ones that were in these long wars, like Civil War. They feel like they're still on duty, so you have to again kind of pull them out of that loop that they're in a sense. Because they're very passionate about their service.
So, is there a hell after all this?
If you want to create one for yourself, sure.
Jennifer, Kayla, do you feel the same way?
It's kind of tricky for me because I've never necessarily personally experienced anything like that. I feel a lot of times that's a decision because from what I've come across, we all have that opportunity to cross over or sin, however you perceive it as, so I think that's ultimately up to us.
All right. Now, I have a question here that was sent, and this question goes, is there any movie or documentary that comes close to what you do?
Mm-hmm.
No, unfortunately.
Not necessarily. No.
I don't think so.
No, nothing. Really? I'm surprised.
There's a lot of small references to different movies. One of the movies I'll talk about when people ask me kind of what it's like to watch someone cross over or what it looks like, or people will say, well, isn't it sad? And I always told them, if you've ever seen the movie Hocus Pocus, have you seen it?
Yes.
So, at the end.
Do a sequel to that, by the way.
Well, at the end, Binks is crossing over, and his little sister, Emily, who's been waiting on the other side, says, Binks, I've been waiting for you. What took you so long? It's just beautiful. They're reuniting with their loved ones. They're going back home in a sense.
Right. But I love that sentiment. Like, what took you so long? It sort of takes the fear out of death in a way that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you any of you guys afraid of death?
No, not at all. I like being here, but it's my time. I'll be ready to go because I know I'll be met with a lot of probably a lot of these spirits we helped cross over will meet us.
I'm ready to have a party,
but aren't you afraid that you will be like one of these spirits where you get caught?
No,
because
we understand how it works.
Yeah. We also have a lot of people on the other side that work with us. We actually all do. We all have like this whole team of spirits with us, our ancestors, anyone who's ever loved us or, just is put here to protect us or to help guide us. We have a lot of support we don't realize we don't have because most of the time we don't think we deserve it.
We also have a rescue who works with us, someone who's rescued, a little girl. And that's really the reason why Kayla is with me and also Jennifer, because Kayla was doing a mediumship demo not this past October before, and this little girl came to her and she started describing the little girl. And this is a rescue from St. Augustine, Florida. Her name is Alice, and a lot of people see her around me. And when Kayla started describing her, I knew exactly who she had connected with. So I went up to her afterwards and spoke to her about that and said, hey, would you like to be involved in the spirit rescue? It looks like Alice has picked you. Mm-hmm. So that's how this all kind of came about.
So, Kayla, when someone asks you to help them, is it sort of like Rey in The Rise of Skywalker and you have like all these Force ghosts kind of supported?
Actually, yes, I saw that movie and I was really, really happy because it had a lot of, for me, in my perspective, it had a lot of psychic and spiritual references.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but near the end where they all come in and give her support, letting her know she's not alone. She's loved. She's never been alone. Actually, that's one of my new favorite quotes from Yoda. Alone, you've never been. And it was so sweet, but it's a lot like that. I mean, everyone has that. We just don't realize it. And it's beautiful. And that's one of the things I fortunately get to see. And it's just beautiful. And I wish everyone knew that.
Yeah. Well, I will do my best also to not to spoil, but then again, it's been months now. So
yeah.
But anyone who has been or is empathetic towards adoption, being adopted, or foster care and families, I think those people will really, really appreciate the ending of this film.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas a lot of other people complained about it, and I was like, no, this is really beautiful.
I wanted to cry. I was like, I love that. I love that she decided to go ahead and say that. I was like, yes.
Yes, exactly right. And so I guess that's what some of these ghosts need, or spirits rather. They need to feel like they have someone who's got their back. And in a sense, are you kind of going in there and adopting them and saying, hey, I'm with you. I can help you through this. I'm your guide or your
pretty much
parent-like figure.
Yeah, we Jennifer and I sometimes, if they're not ready to cross over, because that's a decision they have to make. You can't force anyone to do that. That's all. We never lose our free will, and we will offer for them to, be allowed around us or follow us home to help them, as long as they respect our boundaries and our energy. So yeah, almost like a fostering home for spirits.
We've done several, and some even animals.
Yeah,
I've taken animals home that have crossed, that have passed, and they just weren't ready yet, and then they'll cross over later on.
Every time you say you keep taking someone home, I just imagine like this little animal kind of like scurrying next to you. Like,
literally that, yes.
Oh, really? Really? That's what you see?
Yes, I can actually see them. Yeah, we both can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is adorable. So our pets, do they, because Stephen, earlier you mentioned, the battle and maybe trauma, that these sort of things will keep you stuck, right? moving on. But can it sometimes be something out of love, like some pet or human decides, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay here and hang out.
Yeah, there's in my business, I interact with a lot of people, and there was one lady that came to me, and I could feel that her mother was around her, and she was really, really grieving her. So, yeah, we can hold people here in a sense where they feel, the ones that have passed, feel such a responsibility or such a pull from the person who's still living that they won't make the transition at that point, and they're waiting for that person to almost give them permission. So, yeah, that's part of it.
All right, and just a reminder to everybody listening, in about 10 minutes, we will open up those phone lines. The number is 85-KGRA live for the Paranormal Radio app hotline. Call in, ask your questions, and we look forward to hearing from you. Okay, so there isn't a particular movie that you guys feel like you can relate to, but is something like Poltergeist just way out there, or is there anything?
Yeah, that's probably
yeah, a lot of those are way out there.
Yeah.
Now I've experienced some things. I've seen objects thrown. I've had disembodied voices speak to me, but it's never like that extreme.
Right. Well, that's what I wanted to ask you too. Is what capabilities does a spirit have? You said it can travel, but you're saying that spirits really can move objects, physical objects.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the last houses we investigated was in a small town north of Memphis, and they told us a story about how, well, actually, their little girl's very intuitive. She's like, 3 years old, and there was a spirit child in the house that was playing with her, and they had a bottle of bubbles, the bubble mix, and the family sat there and watched that bottle be picked up and carried to the middle of the room and dropped. So, yeah, they can do things like that. They can manipulate energy. Well, I mean, everything is energy and everything is in a state of vibration, so they're able to do those types of things.
Yeah.
They can knock, they can...
a place I used to work, it used to be a daycare before it was what it was, and wee hours of the morning, I'd go in and be working, and there would actually be like little rubber balls. I don't know where they came from, but they would manifest, and you could hear children giggle, and you could watch the ball just bounce down the thing.
The house I grew up in, there were two entities. There was a younger girl and an older gentleman, and he was usually in the attic, and I could hear him walking around. He also would slam the door sometimes. He slammed in my sister's face, which I thought was hilarious. He said my name. He said hey before. He's knocked a huge gumbo pot off the counter. Like, there's no way it fell, and I knew it was him because he was trying to get my attention. So they can definitely move things. I've had spirits can go in your dreams. I've had them come into my dream and communicate with me that way. They literally just had a conversation with me or have shown me things, and when I wake up, I usually write them down.
How do you know it's come into your dream and not just a manifestation of your mind?
So I've had dreams ever since I was little, forever. And I've gotten to the point now where I can tell when I'm having just like a stress dream and it's just me versus something important. And usually when it's something important, it's a good feeling and I remember it. And I have a sense that it was important. Almost like I literally saw a message and I knew that I needed to take it with me when I woke up, in a sense.
Yeah, mine are kind of the same way. When I have dreams like that, they're super specific. I mean, it's something that you will remember every single detail. The color, the place you were at, the car. I mean, it's so specific, and your normal dreams usually aren't quite that specific, and you remember every single detail when you wake up.
Do any of you meditate?
Yes.
Yes.
So for me, when I do meditate, almost ceremoniously, some thought of clarity comes into my mind.
Yes.
And it almost feels like it's kind of coming from somewhere else, but I think it's just my mind because I'm giving it a break, and just trying to clear out the clutter so that my subconscious can speak to me.
Well, that's exactly what reaching your higher self is, though.
Right. But then how do I, are you, when you meditate, are you able to differentiate between when it's just your own mind being allowed to actually process and figure something out versus something coming from a higher power, if you will?
Sometimes it's kind of a flow that just continues. And when that happens, you've made a connection with spirit.
So there's a lot that we meditate a lot intuitively, actually. So for me, I've always just kind of dozed off and daydreamed a lot ever since I was younger. So I know that, honestly, I know if I'm seeing something that doesn't really make sense to me at the time, or it doesn't seem like a realistic daydream or vision I'm having, I know that it's something for somewhere else. Or, you just feel it. You can tell the energy around that thought or thing, Yeah. So that's a lot of how I do it. I couldn't meditate at all. I was too focused on literally having visuals or having an outer body experience. A lot of times we meditate, when you're driving and you make it to your destination and you're like, I don't even remember driving here, because you just kind of zone out. That's meditating. When you're doing the dishes or you're taking a shower and you get a lot of good ideas, that's meditation. That's you connecting naturally without realizing it.
Yeah, and I know journaling helped me a lot. I would, just write down the things that I would, hear or see. And then, a month later, I'd go back and go, wait a minute, that's not just me. That's something bigger, something more.
And what's really cool about working together in a group like this is if we connect with spirit or our guides or something, and you hear something and you tell each other about it, and then the other person says, well, I got the same thing. So you get that validation, which is really important for building your confidence. And it really helps this work that we're doing.
Right. So do you ever have someone who actually just is in a real panic and they really feel like they're in danger?
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. Caleb hit her on it a little while ago when she said about getting your attention. Normally, when we go into a place, if there's a spirit there that's very active, and people will say to me, oh, it's getting worse. But what is happening is they're just getting frustrated because they're trying to get their attention because they need help. They know that they're not going to be able to transition without some kind of help. So they'll do all these things to kind of accelerate people's perception of them. And so it's really about getting their attention.
Right, exactly. So why do they need to do that? Why do these spirits need to get their attention?
Because nobody notices them. They're there. I mean, how would you feel? You live in a house, you pass away, for some reason you missed the bus and you didn't get into the light when it was your time, and you're panicking, you don't know what to do, and then someone moves into what you consider your space or your home. And it's confusing. Sometimes I think we're like the ghost to them or the spirits to them,
Yeah, I mean, I've been walking through, places, Walmart, Lowe's, and I'll actually hear spirit go, you can see me. And it's kind of like that. They've been, people have walked by them day after day after day and not even noticed them. And, one of us walks in and we're like, hey, and they're like, help me, let me tell you my story. So.
Is that all they need to do? Is that they just share their story with you in order to talk therapy, and then that sort of helps them release themselves?
Sometimes if they want to go, sometimes you just want to talk or share, or
it's a lot of counseling.
Something.
And we also connect them with their loved ones on the other side who are at a higher vibration. We're kind of like a bridge between the two. So by directing their attention, we had the last house we were in, there was a very flamboyant young woman in there, and it was either her boyfriend or someone who really liked her a whole lot. Well, he came for her. She couldn't see him or wasn't aware of him until we pointed him out to her, and then helped her get her vibration higher to where she could see him there and hear him, and then she left.
Right.
A lot of times it's kind of a bridge that we kind of try to build between the two.
The Paranormal radio app hotlines are open, so the number is 85-KGRA live. It's 855-472-5483 to call in. So if they're angry and they cause physical harm, it's not necessarily evil, right? You're saying that they're just trying to get somebody's attention. Or are there actually spirits that do turn evil?
We're not hearing you here.
Can you hear me now, guys? All right, stand by, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me. My guests have lost the connection with me, so I have no idea if I'm on the air or on the air. On the air or the air. All right, so I'm going to see if we can get Race to step in here. And,
okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear us now. Okay, all right, good.
Okay.
Hey, question for you: is it possible that spirits can mess with tech?
Yes, absolutely, all the time.
We've had quite a number of issues tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy around us. So.
Yeah, I've had them blow light bulbs, computers, phones.
Actually, when we did the investigation at the Green Beetle, they turned the camera off.
Yeah, there's a whole stretch of time that they turned the camera off.
Yeah, there are plenty of reports where people say their batteries get drained.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, you guys don't use batteries, so I guess that wouldn't really happen to you. So that's the benefit of being biological. Your battery it can get drained, but not to the point, I guess, where you collapse, right?
Right. No, we don't really get affected by the energies. We have protection around us. So
I don't allow that.
Yeah.
Okay, so are any of these spirits actually evil, or are they just angry, frustrated, desperate?
Well, there are evil people in our world, right now, that you would not want to meet in a dark alley. It's the same thing.
Oh, okay. So I'm a human being. I pass away.
Mm-hmm.
I become a spirit. I'm really angry with how I crossed over for some reason, but that doesn't necessarily make me an evil poltergeist, right? Can you guys hear me? I've lost you again. Okay, so I have no idea, once again, if it's just me and you guys out there listening. Anyone in the chat room, can you hear me?
Now we can.
We can now.
Yeah.
Again, this is really bizarre.
Yeah, well, welcome to the gang.
Wow, and I feel like I shouldn't even ask the question. I feel like I just poked some spirit. and they're like, okay, let's see, we'll do it again. Now, is Loki... Oh, and thanks, Neutron. I appreciate that. Neutron in the chat room said he can hear us. Is Loki a human spirit, do you think? Like a trickster spirit? Or do you think these mythological gods are really something other than human spirits?
What I believe personally, I believe in a sense they're their own kind of energy vibration or energy field. So for me personally, I believe they all exist, and that they're all energies that we can come in contact with or call upon that energy if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you able to use the wisdom or energy of the spirits to help those of us who are still alive?
Yes, actually, I have a spirit guide that I work with. He's actually been with me for a very long time, and he has helped me help other people often with support or even things they might need that I just intuitively kind of know. There's a few times I brought something like medicine or whatever to work, and one of my coworkers needed it. So even simple things like that.
So very practical advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What gives them the insider knowledge, do you think?
I believe it's definitely from wherever the source or the universe is, or God, wherever you want to call it. I feel like they're, I helping hand of whatever that higher vibration is.
Well, y'all, I just had to use it. Sorry. Are from the Bible Belt, like you said, right? Okay, so are you religious, or are you more open to different ideas?
I'm more spiritual, but I also believe in, a connection with God or your higher self is a personal thing anyways. So I don't necessarily have a label. I prefer to stay open. So I guess I would say more spiritual than anything else.
Yeah.
Though I do believe in, God or the one or the universe. So sometimes that's hard to answer.
All right. So I've got a question from Omara. What does it mean when someone that you've loved very much has crossed over, someone that you've had a very strong emotional connection with, and you don't even have a dream about them? Nothing. The person was spiritually very evolved.
So that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong necessarily, because they have different ways of contacting us. And also you have to consider their time or what they're doing, because on the other side, there's a lot of things you can do. So this person, they might be leaving feathers or coins, like pennies. They'll leave that a lot. There's all kinds of signs. Sometimes people will see repeating numbers. There's different ways that they can contact you.
Yeah,
so just because it's not in a dream doesn't mean they're not around.
All right. So if any of us want someone to give us a sign, does simply desiring it mean that it will happen, or is there?
You can ask for it.
Yeah, ask
but
and you shall receive.
It's in their time, They have a wider perspective than we do. So if it's a beneficial thing for us, they will. They'll bring those coins and feathers. Tell Amara, tell her to look for that now, because that has been something that I've experienced many times over the years with clients.
Or it could be something special to that person that's crossed over, or something that was special between the both of them, like a red cardinal or a butterfly or something like that.
Perfume smell or something. Yeah.
Okay, and just a reminder that we think we've got all the technical problems. Hopefully we won't lose each other for the rest of the program. So please feel free to call in 85KGRA live. We may have scared some people off with our pitches tonight. But that is the way it goes. So do you think that time is, and this goes to any of you, do you think that time is linear, or is time simultaneous?
I think time is something humans made up and that we put on to get places to be somewhere at a certain time. I don't really think there is an actual time. A lot of people just, everybody's just kind of here. I don't really think, I think it's more linear. I don't really think that there's I don't even know how to describe it. What do y'all think?
Well, I've talked to people, I've not experienced this myself, that they'll look out the window and they see the scene outside the way it was 100 years ago. So I tend to think there is no linear aspect to time. It's just everything's happening in a compressed type situation. And there's really, people think of heaven or these spirits that cross over as being really far away. But they're here. There's everything overlaps, I think, in a sense.
It's beyond me. I have no idea.
Fair enough. Yeah. So
Can't know what day it is, I'll be honest.
Well, these spirits, they probably don't care about dates, right?
No.
Now, eventually, the ones that are stuck here, or that have chosen to be here, rather, the ones that have chosen to stick around, can they just leave and, like you said, to sort of return to the source at any time?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's up to them.
Unless they don't know how.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's our role, is we're called in because we do a little counseling and we explain to them how they can do that. Now, they don't always cross over immediately. And that used to disturb me, especially with children's spirits. But, at least they know how to leave if they want to. And with children's spirits, there's almost always a crossed over guardian with them, someone from their family. So once I found that out, I felt a lot more comfortable with them being there.
Sure. And Kayla, children's spirits are drawn to you?
Yes.
And is it just because, like in your bio description, that you have compassionate energy?
Yes, I think a lot of it is that. I try always to come from a place of love and understanding. And a lot of times I don't think that people treat children like people, because they are. Mm-hmm. And it's especially difficult when you're grown up and you're just now starting to experience feelings. So, you don't know how to vocalize, or you don't know any structure on how to cope with it or communicate. So that's something I have a great understanding of. So I feel like they feel safe around me, kind of like I'm a light. And a lot of times that's why they'll come to me.
Now, what if you are going through a tough time in your life? Does that affect how spirits are attracted to you?
So for me, I know with me and my spirit guide, whenever I'm having a personally hard time, whether it be, a physical ailment or an emotional thing I'm going through for whatever reason, usually, for me, I'm taking a break for myself. So in a sense, my vibration goes down and I'm not really doing that work. I'm focused on me and what I need to get done, because ultimately that's a priority for me to do the work I want to do.
I have a question from Libertas in the chat room. It says, if a spirit is a child, do they remain a child or continue to grow?
They grow on the other side once they cross over. This is what we've been told.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side. So if you lose a child, you live out your life, you pass over, see that child, what are you seeing?
Well, I know a few times we've been where a child will come to us and they'll be of a certain age, say 3 years old. And then we went into a house after that and we saw them at that age. And then all of a sudden they went from age 3 to like 13. Mm-hmm. So they will actually show you their growth.
Interesting. So it's recognizable. You can tell right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So how far do we evolve then? Because let's say we do pretty good on this earth. We evolve pretty far, we pass over, and then we continue evolving. I mean, if we pass away, let's say 110 years old, lived a good life, good person, when you cross over, what happens next? Are you done? Is that it?
You have a lot of options. So in my experience from things I've encountered, actually, I had a dream, and my uncle had been passed for years now, or is passed, has been. And I saw him in my dream, and I was like, whatever, that's just a dream AI. That's what I call them. And he faced in front of me again, and he said, you're just going to see your uncle and walk by? And I remember sitting down, and he was telling me about the other side, because he's crossed over. He said he was really busy. He was talking to a lot of people. There's things you can do over there, and that's why child spirits that cross over, they can grow too. You can decide to stay, at the source or in that vibration and learn and grow, or you can come back and have another human experience.
Yeah.
It's all up to you. I've actually seen people's family members who have passed cross over and come back, and they're almost like guardian angels or guides, and they'll help people in their life.
Question from Neutron in the chat room. What is the percentage of evil versus good apparitions that are reported?
I'm not sure. In my personal experience, it's a lot more good than bad.
Yeah.
I've experienced way more light than any dark.
Yeah.
And it seems like the work that we do, we're not really dealing with that type of energy. Other people may work with that type of energy. We really don't.
No.
So.
And anything that I've ever encountered that may have been, and I don't really like the evil or negative, that's just not really in my vocabulary. I just call it a lower vibration. If it's something that my guides don't want me to be around, they usually just take it. I mean, I don't know where it goes, but it's gone. I don't interact with it. Them or whatever it may be.
I don't know how it affects you all. I have a dislike relationship with social media. And do you feel that if you spend too much time on social media, it affects your intuitive abilities or, your energy?
I believe it depends on how conscious you are. So, like, for me, I'm very aware of what I'm following or what I'm looking at. So I have a lot of positive things I see. It's actually enlightening when I do decide to scroll or go on whatever app I'm using, that it's positive stuff. So for me, it's actually a tool of focus or to help inspire me. So in my experience, it's good. But, you get back what you put out. If I'm looking for good stuff, I'm going to get good stuff.
So you're not compelled, like I think most people are, to post and complain about things and be angry about things and this is wrong and whatever. I
kind of used to be like that, and then I realized that didn't matter, and I would rather, be positive on things. Because when I be negative, that's not doing anything for anyone. Like, that really doesn't matter.
Now, if spirits could have access to social media, would they use it?
Probably. I believe they do. I believe sometimes they've gotten into computers and done some stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, that ties into technical glitches, which other guests that I've had in the past have had that similar experience where things just go kind of awry, technically, when they're connecting or talking about their encounters.
And I'm very careful, what I look at, what I listen to, what I watch, what I put in my body. And I really cannot be around too much cell phones or EMF for too long. It makes me feel icky, and it usually gives me a really bad headache.
Question from Libertas again in the chat room. Stephen, this is for you. You had described this a little bit earlier, and they just like you to clarify it again. Would you please ask Stephen how he discerns if a spirit is male or female?
For me, this started about 15 years ago after I'd been investigating with those two other groups that I was involved with. I was in a slave quarters of an old antebellum home, and I started feeling this tingling sensation. And by working with mediums over the years, I know that if I feel it on my right side, it's masculine. If I feel on my left side, it's feminine. It's different for other people. Some people feel spirit energy. I used to work with a guy. He would feel it on his leg. So everybody's different. And what's male for me could be, different for someone else on a different side. But that's the way I feel it. And then sometimes I'm the first person that feels that energy. And then I'll say, hey, do y'all feel anybody? And then they'll focus, or they'll open up that time and then start really getting some good information from the spirit. So it's a sentient thing for me. It's a feeling, an actual physical feeling. It feels like ants are marching around the top of my head.
Ah, interesting. Okay. When you're working together, have you ever had a really just funny experience investigating? Where you just kind of lost it and it was just, wow, this is just hilarious.
Honestly, that drunk guy was really funny. The drunk spirit, he was so funny because he was very Western, and he was from an older time. And we do come across entities that are from the 2000s and stuff. I've had people ask me that. I'm like, yes, we get modern entities, all kinds of people. But, he was really funny because he was singing and talking about beer and stuff. But there was also another time where we did the investigation at the Green Beetle, and one of the ladies that was there interviewing us, she was looking out the window, and I told her, I said, oh, are you looking at that guy out there staring at you too? And she really freaked out and ran away from the door. It was really funny. I didn't mean to scare her, but that was really funny.
And recently we did an investigation where there was this really flamboyant young woman there that's from the 80s. She the way she presented was in a short skirt, jangly bracelets. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she had that 80s hair. You could smell the hairspray.
Yeah, she was quite vocal. So sometimes their personality is really fun.
Right. So have you made friends with spirits?
I do. I don't know. I talk to all of them. It doesn't mean they stick around.
Yeah, but I guess. We talk to them, and we do kind of, have a friendship bond, but it's not something that's like ongoing because they usually go and do what they need to do.
No, that's more with our guides.
Yeah.
Kayla spoke about her guide earlier. He's Native American, and he will actually work with all of us, all three of us at times, and really provide some great information for us that really helps us out. So. Yeah, you develop those relationships with the spirit helpers that are around you.
Yeah.
Now, does your ethnicity or background or race have any effect on who comes to you?
Not at all.
No.
No. Just whoever needs help comes to us.
Right. Is that a thing on the other side?
No, because ultimately we're just energy, so we are all the same.
Yeah, it's more like a oneness, the way it's described to us. Now, there is a little bit of individuality there, but I think the predominant feeling that most of the spirits that have reported from the other side is just that feeling of the oneness that's the most important.
It's like a harmony.
Yeah.
So in the Bible, it sort of describes the music of God and creation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get a sense of music, of energy in the music, literally in like a musical sense, like that you can feel going through you?
Yes.
Yeah. When I first really started to, I've always had these gifts, but at some point you either choose to work with them or you don't. Mm-hmm. And when I did start to choose to work with them, like in the evenings when my brain would start to shut down and I'd get ready for bed, I would wake up, doze off a little bit, and I'd wake up and I would hear like music, like orchestra music.
Yeah. I believe they play music for me sometimes. I'll hear music randomly and I'm like, I have no idea what this is, or like, it's a song I haven't listened to for forever, and it's totally random. Like, there's no reason I would start thinking about it other than they're sitting there singing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I'm loud and proud about the fact that I listen to Enya and New Age music. Because for me, it's it's transforming.
Oh yeah,
and it gets me into the state where it just feels like this is close to what we're all supposed to be striving for, that sense of unity and oneness and love. And, I feel like most new age music is striving for that. It's trying to get us there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel those head to toe chills when you're listening to a particular piece of music, that spirit that's drawn close to you, they love the music too. They love the vibration of that music.
Yeah, they do.
So you'll feel those head to toe chills.
Yeah, I know a lot of mediums, they jam out before they do a session. I usually do. I was jamming out on the way here just to, open up those chakras.
Right. Yeah, Pink Floyd, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever you connect with, really.
Yeah.
It's all about vibration.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say we're getting close to the end here. I don't get it. I thought that y'all would catch on with the rest of the United States at this point in time, because I think it's a great expression. It just covers everybody. How is it not come up north here? I don't get it.
I don't know.
You talking about spirit rescue?
No, I'm talking about y'all.
Oh. That's sweet.
We get around sometimes, so we may be traveling. Who knows?
We're working on socializing more. Give us time.
Well, if you guys ever do come up here, please let me know. I'd love to meet up and chat with you and support you.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So before we leave, are there any last minute thoughts that you feel like you need to leave us with?
Well, like Jennifer expressed earlier, they're able to work remotely. So if there's anybody out there that has anything going on that they would like some answers or just some help or support, they can always go to our website. That's memphisghostinvestigations.com or memphisspiritrescue.com. It'll take you to the same place. So we don't charge anything. I've never charged a penny for this work over 18 years. People do try to pay us occasionally, but we always ask them to send donations to St. Jude. That's our charity. Mm-hmm. So it's a service work for us. So we just do not Do not want any kind of, we really don't want much recognition, but we understand that it helps to get the word out that we're out here to help. So,
right.
I love helping people and helping people feel heard because that's important.
All right. Well, Stephen, Kayla, Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we appreciate
you.
the opportunity.
All right. Absolutely. Hopefully we'll get you on here in the future. For everyone out there, thank you again for tuning in to Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio every Tuesday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. KGRA is your official contact for the best in alternative talk radio. To find out more, go to kgraradio.com/paranormal now. Okay, stay tuned for Jimmy Church, and special thanks to KGRA producer Ray Hobbs. Until next time, live in the mystery.
You're lost in a bad way, starting to let go, gone too far the wrong way, can take it all back now. You're lost in a bad way, I've gotta let you go.